My farm only challenge was a success, but success brings attention, and attention is something we can't have, can we? I've abandoned everything. The money, equipment, even my totally optimal sprinkler setup that nobody complained about. I'll start fresh, I'll have a new name, a new face, and also this copper pan I found. It should open up some interesting options. I'll earn all my riches again, another 1 million without ever leaving the farm, and without reusing any of my techniques. Don't want to raise anyone's suspicions, now do we? To go along with that, I've tunneled my way into a whole different type of farm, aka the Meadows farm. This farm, added in the 1.6 update, comes equipped with a coop and 2 chickens, which I immediately visited. Turns out their randomized names were Beans and Toast. While that sounds tasty, these are friends, not food. The eggs are another story entirely. They will be a steady source of income and eventually a somewhat okay option for energy recovery. As for how important the coop will be in the grand scheme of things, we will just have to see later on. I should note, I always left the shutter open so that they could freely graze on the chewy bluegrass inherent to this farm. As long as they can get back inside, nothing bad is going to happen to them, and the bluegrass is really important. Compared to normal grass, this stuff grows slower, but when eaten, animals gain double the amount of friendship, and it's so nutritious that they only eat half the normal amount, so kinda counteracts the slower growth. I should also note that cutting bluegrass yields double the amount of hay, but only when you have a silo, which we cannot obtain without leaving the farm. Jumping ahead, I will note that in winter, the grass doesn't actually disappear, but it does stop growing and propagating. But that doesn't matter because animals won't go out during winter, so they'll just sit in the coop and kinda starve. But that's an issue for later. With the chickens taken care of, I set myself to cleaning up the farm. While it still took multiple in-game days like the previous farm, it took less time in real life because I decided to get over myself and I was using animation canceling from the very start. Moving forward, on day 3, I decided to clean up the little island in the northern part of the farm, but there's an issue with that. This farm always comes with a large stump blocking the wooden bridge, meaning that we're not supposed to have access to that little island thing. Since we can't upgrade the axe without leaving the farm, let's try to cheat. Unfortunately, there's an issue with that. I don't have a chair. The furniture found in the farmhouse default to this farm type has just a wooden bench, which, while usable, makes bypassing the stump much trickier because it's wide enough to take up 2 tiles. It is possible to return from the island by placing some fences and a gate, which lets you close the gate while standing within it, forcing the game to pop you out on the other side, but then we can't return to the island until we get the fences to disappear, but fence gates don't degrade, so we're kind of out of luck for now. Aside from cleaning and tending to the chickens, my daily routine also involved panning at every glowing spot I could find. This is much easier said than done because the splash sound that plays when a glowing spot appears in the water is not directional. That means I have to check every water source every single time, all while hoping it's actually accessible. Still, I panned up plenty of stuff in the first week, earning me copper, iron, gold, even surprisingly some iridium and geodes. That last part is useless, but it proves panning as a decent alternative to the Hilltop or Four Corners farm quarry. The last thing I would do some of the nights, basically whenever I felt like it, was try fighting monsters. They started to spawn after 7:30 p.m. thanks to the Spawn Monsters Farm option that is enabled here. While that sounds good, giving me roughly 5 in-game hours to go hunting, in practice, it's actually quite miserable. Bats spawn outside the edge of the map, taking their sweet flappin' time to come within smacking range. Slimes and wilderness golems can only spawn off screen, so it felt like all my time was spent looking for a fight. Green slimes and bats have 24 health, while the wilderness golem has 30. The scythe does a pitiful 1 to 3 damage, and even with the rare critical strike, fighting monsters can take quite a while. The higher combat level we reach, the stronger the enemies that will appear, bringing with them usually much better rewards. What's not so nice is that under normal circumstances, all 3 monsters provide just 3 experience points. But I learned about 20 hours into my playthrough that enemies on the farm reward 1/3 of the normal amount of experience, meaning I was literally leveling up 1 mob, 1 XP at a time. Incredible. By the 9th day of spring, I decided to focus on power leveling my foraging skill, as it's the only currently viable option. Combat it's gonna take forever. Panning rewards no experience, so mining will only be raised by destroying the stones that respawn at the start of each new year. Farming is slowly rising thanks to Beans and Toast, but I don't want to draw attention to myself by using the same strategy as last time, so I won't be farming any parsnips or mixed seeds or that kind of stuff. Lastly, fishing is not an option, still. We cannot get a fishing rod of any kind without leaving the farm. So that leaves foraging, which is thankfully quite farmable thanks to trees. Each day, any mature tree has a 5% chance to contain a seed, which we can shake loose by right-clicking on the tree. Mature trees also have a chance each night to plant a seed in a nearby square of available ground. We can also get seeds when a tree is cut down, which will be happening a lot because you get 12 XP when a tree is cut down, with another singular XP for removing the stump. Going forward, I aim to always plant more trees than I cut down, but I was always limited by how much energy I had. Still, it wasn't long before the Great Tree Farm of 2024 began to take shape. Onwards, I fell into a routine of farming trees, tending the chickens, and panning/fighting when applicable. Until day 14, where I got a very nice surprise. This right here is a fresh copy of Mining Monthly, one of the many new skill books added in the 1.6 update. I don't know how the book fairy snuck this one in here, but these books are awesome, so I don't mind. There are two types of books, upgrade and skill books. Upgrade books are mostly irrelevant to this challenge as they're only obtainable from activities not available, boosting skills that aren't applicable. Skill books all reward a set amount of experience to any of the main skills. Even better, we can obtain them from a variety of accessible activities. They can be found from panning, killing monsters, digging up artifact spots, but most importantly, skill books can drop when shaking a tree, part of that once a day seed chance thing. Even crazier, every single axe hit against a tree has a very small chance of producing a book. Since skill books are the only way to level fishing, a skill path I do really want to explore, I focused even more on maximizing my tree farming. For the same reason, I decided to try something a bit crazy. It's time to turn Stardew Valley into Slime Rancher. So usually, you only farm slimes by having a slime hutch constructed. Doing so enables slimes to have a chance of dropping slime eggs, which can be placed into a slime incubator to produce a tamed slime. Without the hutch, we can't loot slime eggs, and a slime egg press and slime incubator require combat levels 6 and 8 respectively, so slime ranching is possible without all that, it's just slower and much more tedious. After making a slime containment area with fences, I waited around for multiple nights. The plan was pretty simple. I would just hope that 2 slimes, one male, one female, would spawn on the farm and produce a tame baby slime before the time runs out. This is necessary because tame slimes are the only ones that won't disappear when the day ends. Female slimes can outrun the male, and if you walk close enough to aggro either slime, their mating ritual will be abandoned. This took more than one night. After a few days, a cat appeared on my doorstep. When this happened last time, I just shooed the animal away, but this time, things are different. Now, pets can actually be useful, so I kept the cat and I named it Lucy, after my real-life cat. Lucy is a good cat. So in the 1.6 update, it was made so that when a pet's friendship meter is maxed out, they will occasionally give gifts in return for the once-a-day petting. 1.6 also added turtles as a purchasable pet. While that's great, I can obtain one without leaving the farm, so its saltwater-themed gifts are irrelevant. Dogs mostly give gifts for things they've dug up like bones and treasure. This is great if you're trying to build out the museum, but not so great if you're stuck in the farm. In hindsight, I probably would have appreciated the extra hardwood and stone. Then again, I'm not sure if I would have enjoyed my dog running up with a sword in its mouth. Anyway, since I picked the cat, I can expect to eventually get the occasional fish, duck feather, piece of cheese, that sort of thing. It won't upend the challenge, but it should make for a nice little treat. Skipping forward a little, on the 23rd, I had quite the surprise. Yeah, I guess I missed it the night before, but 2 slimes snuck off and produced a female that'd be instrumental in usher in a new age of gelatinous ranchin'. But of course, 1 tame slime isn't enough to get the slime ball rolling. It wasn't until the second night of summer when I was exhausted, just moments from passing out, I witnessed the second tame slime make their appearance. I quickly rushed to bed where I got the notification I'd reached foraging level 4, which unlocks a new item that will prove to be quite important, but for now, my only thoughts were of slime. Early morning of the next day, I baited the new slime into the pen and had another wonderful surprise. It's a boy! Throughout the following week, I did my chores while watching the slime population slowly tick up from 2 to 3 to 5 and so on. This will allow me to fight monsters in greater numbers more reliably and without waiting around until night. The slimes won't drop anything particularly flashy, but the increased loot helped raise my profits all the same. Thanks to that and all the eggs, wood, sap, and ore I've shipped thus far, I unlocked the farm cave on the 15th of summer, year 1. For a change of pace, this time around I chose the mushroom option. With this, I'll be able to pick 6 mushrooms every other day. The mushrooms will always be base quality, but the type of mushrooms that spawn is up to chance, picked amongst the 5 available. In order of most to least likely, we can get a common, red, morel, chanterelle, or purple mushroom. While their values vary, this will serve as a routine source of revenue. The 5 foraging XP per mushroom is a solid bonus. Making this whole deal that much better, the Fungus Funhouse comes equipped with a free dehydrator, yet another new item added in the 1.6 update. While you can use this to create raisins and dried fruit, what matters to us are dried mushrooms. The value of these are worth the 1-day processing time, but only for base quality mushrooms. The only downside here is that we're not going to get any more dehydrators because its recipe is sourced from outside the farm. All that said, moving forward, my new routine was to check on the mushroom cave when applicable, check on the chickens, shake the trees, plant new trees, and cut trees until I ran out of energy. Seeing the numbers rise, I also started including the occasional slime slaying when I realized that slimes can actually escape during the night. At worst, I never had more than 4 to 5 disappear at once, but looking online, I saw numbers as high as 15 or even 20 escaping at once. I assume that slimes escape, aka just disappear, as a way to prevent the farm from becoming overwhelmed to the point of ruining the game's performance. So I kinda just culled the herd when it felt right. It wasn't optimized, but it worked well enough. My new routine was interrupted on the 23rd of summer, when I spotted a mysterious man flying in a biplane raining mystery boxes down across Stardew Valley. This marks a turning point, as from here on out, mystery boxes can be obtained via a plentitude of activities. Each box can be opened to reward the player with just about any item you could think of: hats, seeds, minerals, furniture, and so much more. There's just one big issue. As of attempting this challenge, the only way to open mystery boxes is by visiting the town's smithy and having them open up each box for 25 gold. I was really conflicted, because this is a randomized system of getting otherwise unavailable items, so adding it would definitely make the challenge more interesting, but then I would have to leave the farm, and that kind of goes against the spirit of the challenge, so I put it up to a vote. And I posted a poll, and with 1.2 thousand votes, an overwhelming majority said to cheat them open. The people have spoken. Oh man, so I ventured back into the tunnels, and I got my pickaxe swinging from side to side. It was a grueling task, but before long, I reached the blacksmith's house. Persuading him took a little bit, but he agreed to never allow other customers inside, so I was free to visit and pay to open the mystery boxes whenever I wanted. That done, I should probably talk about the boxes themselves. They can be obtained from a bunch of activities, but only 4 of them are doable during this challenge. All of this works really well for my current routine, which is fantastic. As for the rewards, there's a bunch, but I'll note some potential useful stuff. There are a bunch of seeds which we will grow, not counting the mixed seeds, those are still banned. We can also get some quality fertilizer and deluxe speed grow, both quite useful. The occasional 10 hardwood will be very useful, as it's our only source of the stuff until we max foraging. As for what else I can get from the boxes, we'll talk about it when it happens. For now, let's talk about something weird that also happened on the 23rd. Green rain. This is a new weather event that occurs once per year, only in summer. There are 8 possible dates it can happen on, so it is possible to plan ahead. I, however, was completely caught off guard. The effects of this weird green rain is everywhere. Partially grown trees have matured, moss is all over the place, and a bunch of special green rain trees and weeds have sprouted up out of nowhere. You can read the specific effects on screen, but basically the whole event does wonders for my tree-centric farm. Perhaps most importantly, this event and the subsequent green rain trees that I will be growing thanks to the mossy seeds helps produce moss, which will be very, very useful. But not right now. Soon though. Heading into fall, on day 2 I received my first mystery box, with 2 more dropping on day 3. That's also the day I reached foraging level 6. This unlocked the lightning rod, which is actually craftable. Bat wings have been slowly collected from my infrequent nighttime hunts, while iron ore is pretty common from panning. A little less common, fire quartz can be panned up, and it smelts into refined quartz just like normal quartz. Lightning rods generate battery packs from storms, which can be used for iridium sprinklers, crystallariums, and slime egg presses. But I got way more batteries than I can ever use, so I just sold the battery packs, earning 500 gold apiece. Not too shabby. Fall the 5th is when I opened my mystery boxes for the first time. I got a worthless warp totem, a crab cake, which is nice, and a worthless warp totem, and also some mixed seeds. Not looking good. You're on thin ice, Clint, if that's even your real name. From another box, I got some artichoke seeds, which is pretty nice. I will be growing those. On the 13th, the artichokes were ready to harvest, and that experience alongside the gradual farming from beans and toast I reached farming level 4. This unlocks preserve jars, and while I have already utilized these on the previous farm, I thought that I could use the preserve jars to create new types of goods, so I will be using them. But since there's only one type of good I could make with the bee house, which I already did last time, I won't be using that. Again, jumping forward, there's a lot of that in this challenge. The 17th was a cold, rainy night. The slimes were quite jiggly, and I was on my way to the English breakfast duo when I had a thought. I had received an earth gem from panning some time back. Farming level 2 unlocks mayo machines. Why am I not utilizing them? So I combined a copper bar, the gem, and some wood and stone, and voila, it's mayo time. But here's an issue I have yet to specifically highlight. Panning does not reward stone, my cat isn't a dog, and none of the monsters we can access drop stone. So we're actually severely limited on how many mayo machines and preserve jars we can make. So in general, the processing of our goods will be way less of a focus this time around. That said, after multiple seasons of pets and filled water bowls, my cat finally likes me enough to bring me gifts. And later, on the 25th, I reached farming 5. Despite starting with the coop, I didn't see a lot of benefit from rancher, so I went with tiller. I continued with my routine, and before I knew it, winter had finally fallen across the valley. Trees will not grow without tree fertilizer, which requires stone, so my chopping has to stop. It's better to keep all the trees up so I can shake them each day for the seeds and chances at mystery boxes. As mentioned before, hay is limited and I ran out of the stuff I started with very quickly, so beans and toast will get a little more upset each day, but unless I'm mistaken, we can cancel out a little bit of that with the daily petting, so they'll get over it. Despite its issues, this winter was pretty good. By the first day, I had reached 50,000 gold. While that's still just 5% of the overall goal, things will begin to move a lot faster from here on out. Especially because on day 2, I got hardwood from a mystery box, allowing me to craft my first ever mushroom log. This was really important because mushroom logs are going to be the backbone of my ultimate money-making scheme. As such, let's talk about these fungus factories. Also added in 1.6, mushroom logs are a reliable way to farm mushrooms, quickly outclassing the farm cave and wild foraging. They produce mushrooms every 4 days, or less if it rains, across all seasons. Unlike the farm cave, you can control what type of mushroom and the quality that you'll get by strategically surrounding it with trees and whatnot. In general, oak tree encourages morels, pines, chanterelle, maple, both red and purple mushroom. The quality is strictly based on the number of trees and moss within a 7x7 square centered on the log. Optimizing this will prove to be quite challenging, but that's a discussion we'll have later. For now, I had other things to worry about, like on day 3, where I worked to clean up the previously mentioned Northern Island thing. In addition to just looking bad, this area can cause problems because potential seed, skill book, and mystery box drops from a tree could end up here going uncollected. It took the entire day, and plenty of energy refills before I had blanketed the ground with paths, preventing any future debris or trees. After a couple of weeks of repetitive chores, I was surprised by a skill book, this one rewarding some fishing experience. If we can get enough of these books to reach fishing 3, we'll be able to start polluting the streams with crab pots. For now, when the calendar moved into spring of year 2, I was pretty relieved because it means I could finally return to farming trees. On the first day, I made another mushroom log thanks to another mystery box full of hardwood. I got 2 skill books back to back on spring the 5th, reached farming level 6 all the way on the 21st, and I even obtained a unique skill book that increases my defense by 1. Not a bad spring. All of my kind of monotonous work paid off because on the 5th day of summer, year 2, I finally reached foraging level 10, which meant hardwood is now available. Super Galaxy! To kind of celebrate this milestone and see where we're at with the challenge, I liquidated my stock of eggs, mushrooms, and other things that I had gathered up until this point. Turns out we're just over 100,000 gold earned, so we're truly gaming now. From here, I have way more moss than hardwood, so the goal was to just keep cutting down as many trees as possible each day to gradually increase my stock of mushroom logs. While doing that, I did try to keep up with my tasks of tending the chickens and slimes because I was still kind of hoping I could get lucky with skill books or mystery boxes, and also the eggs tasted nice. Related to all that, on day lucky number 13, I reached combat level 3. And moving forward, this year's Green Rain event occurred on the 18th and it was a glorious day. I was running around huffing in that green smog and stuffing my pockets full of moss. It was awesome. Once all of the emerald fun had calmed down, I got another level in fishing thanks to skill books on day 22, and I even reached combat level 4, which happened way faster than I expected. This is an important milestone because the type of enemies that will spawn on the farm are based on your combat level. Now we can actually expect blue slimes throughout the farm in the evenings. I immediately focused on adding these blues to my paddock because blue slimes will be rewarding us with a whopping, incredible, earth-shattering 2 experience per kill. Fall year 2 is where my profits and hubris swelled to yet unseen heights. By the start of the season, I had reached farming level 7. That's great, but the growing number of mushroom logs were a bit more hype. During the second week, I obtained another fishing book. During the third week, I had a very good day. By this point, I'd gotten to the habit of checking the TV to see if anybody was looking for me, and also what my fortune is that day. The 17th was a day where I would have especially good luck, so I increased it further by eating some lucky food I obtained from a mystery box, and I went to work. I think this was well worth it, because by the end of the day, thanks to skill books, I had fishing and mining level 3. Mining's cool and all, but fishing level 3, I was ecstatic because it meant I could use the stream to have a stream of passive income, except not really. No! You see, we can make and place crab pots, but we need some kind of bait for the pots, and that's not possible, at least not right now. Normally you would either buy bait from the fishing shop or craft it using bug meat. You might have already noticed by the distinct lack of bugs, but we can't get any bug meat in this farm, so in order to actually start fishing, we would have to have even more skill books to reach level 4, where we could then make a worm bin. I'll be honest, it doesn't happen by the end of the challenge. I know that's disappointing, but maybe my dreams of fishing will happen one day, but today's not that day. Anyways, by the 28th of fall, literally the day before winter begins, I felt like I was on top of the world. I had reached farming level 8, my profits were past the 500,000 gold mark, but this is why I mentioned the hubris thing. I wasn't happy with what I had. I felt like if I just rearranged some things, I could have my mushroom output double or even triple thanks to the increased efficiency. So I gathered up all my logs and I clear cut almost all my trees to make space for the best mushroom farm you'll ever see. And then I went to bed and I woke up and I looked out at the snow and realized how dumb I had been. Like I said before, trees don't grow in the winter and we don't have the materials to make tree fertilizer. So I kind of shot myself in the foot. That said, since mushroom logs will keep producing even without trees nearby, it's not a total loss. Also, you can see I've started to lay out the logs in a particular way. This is not a DPad original. All of my tree math was bad and wrong, so I'm utilizing this design by 4in110 on Reddit. Throughout all of this, the snowy days passed in quick succession, and somewhere along the line, I was blessed with a visitor from the stars. I didn't want this mysterious capsule to draw attention to my farm, so I put it in my house for safekeeping. By the time the year had come to a close, the capsule had broken open, and I could only assume that the alien within was my new roommate hiding inside my walls, so that's cool. As I fell asleep, just before delving into year 3, I had a familiar hallucination, this time of some other dude's grandpa, showing up to judge me. Rude, but okay. I'm not really concerned about the judgment because there's only so much I can do. On the first day of spring of year 3, I had a bit over 600,000 gold, which means winter was slow, but compared to year 1, it was fantastic. At this point, I was on fire, and I was using those visions I had of that Reddit post to recreate the setup, meaning the mushrooms could flow at a rate you had never seen before. I was actually so obsessed with the fungus that I completely neglected to take care of my chickens, nor collect their eggs with the same frequency as I used to. I actually think I lost part of myself during this madness, but I watered and pet my cat every day because I'm not a monster. I kept getting mushrooms, I kept making logs, I kept cutting down trees to make more logs so I can make more mushrooms, so I can make more logs for more mushrooms. It kind of went on and on until a summer of year 3. The logs had produced enough mushrooms to bring our profits beyond 800,000 gold, and within the first week I was already near passing the 900,000 mark, so I knew this whole challenge was almost done. At this point, I had truly gone into a mushroom-based frenzy where I didn't eat, I didn't drink, I barely even stayed awake on days that I knew I couldn't have mushrooms to pick because they were all I could think of. Before I knew it, it was day 21 of summer year 3, and without ever leaving the farm, I passed 1 million gold earned. I barely felt any emotion at this milestone because my thoughts were subsumed with mushrooms. How many mushroom logs do you think you could fit across the whole farm? What if I got rid of all of the slimes and used that space for mushrooms? I mean, since crab pots require baits and that's not really happening, what if I lined the streams with mushroom logs? I eventually realized my mistake almost too late. The mushrooms were spreading unchecked, multiplying exponentially. Forget the profits, my skills, everything. If I didn't do the unthinkable, it would all be over. So, I left the farm for good. I don't know what's in store for me in the future, but I think me and my cat are gonna be okay. Oh, right. Can chickens eat mushrooms? Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Big thanks to my channel members for their support, and an island-sized thanks to Shay Shay for being a super fan. If you enjoyed this video, why not leave a like, maybe subscribe, and check out my other stuff. Who knows if there will actually be a third video in this kind of series, but we'll see. Until then, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.